Hey everyone, I wanted to quickly go over the new and exciting news we've got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch. If you've been following all of the leaks so far, you know that people are working hard translating the documents from the Capcom leak from last month. It's worth remembering that this is all marketing material. It's not like anyone's actually seen the game files, so we know exactly what's within them. Plans can change over time, but I'm fairly confident that most of the information we'll be covering in this video is accurate. Because there's several people working on this, I've put all the information in the video description. So give them a follow and check out their awesome work. This isn't just coming from one specific source. I compiled all the data so far to properly present it to you guys. In this video, I want to specifically talk about something that I casually mentioned during the last video, but we didn't have the full details until now. And that's the fact that during the Game Awards on December 10th, there will be a new feature trailer for Monster Hunter Rise. According to the leaks, there's several trailers Capcom is planning to showcase heading into the launch of the game, but I figured to save time and to keep things in perspective, we should only cover the upcoming trailer and see what's going to be showcased within it. If we manage to get most or half of the information right, according to the leak, then we know that the marketing material is still accurate and worth reporting on in the future regarding any and all future trailers. If for some reason everything I'm about to talk about turns out to be wrong, then not only did I waste my time, but I wasted yours as well, and that's not something that I'm interested in doing. So once again, during the Game Awards there will be a new trailer and we're expecting to see one new area that I talked about in the previous video, 2 completely new monsters entirely new to the series, 3 returning monsters, and a few extra things here and there. This should be a simple 2-minute trailer and nothing more. Nothing like the Monster Hunter Direct we got when the game was originally revealed, so it's worth considering that and keeping that in mind. Alright, now that all the table setting is done, the first thing that I want to talk about that will be showcased in this trailer is the Flooded Forest. This is an entirely new area being shown specifically for this game. This is one of the 4 areas that have already leaked and the one that they're specifically going to focus showcasing on this specific trailer. Now we know that the Flooded Forest has influence, inspiration, and motifs from old maps. There's an area in Monster Hunter 3 already called Flooded Forest, and we know that the old ancient forest from Monster Hunter World is also part of the inspiration for this specific map. So we're definitely going to be able to see something new that we haven't seen before, and it's not the Shrine Ruins. Now it's worth remembering that in the original trailer reveal, when Tetranodon is being shown, we already see something like caves and water already all around him. Now we know that this is not part of the Shrine Ruins because it's not being shown any other place during any of the gameplay clips we've already seen for the game. This was only shown specifically for Tetranodon and no other monsters, so it could already be that we saw bits of it, a little hint of it, but we simply just haven't been able to see anything else about it. You see the same thing when they showed Yatsukadaki, the spider monster, and this is essentially him being in the Molten Cave. Another one of those areas that we know is going to be introduced later on in the future trailer that has already leaked, but we simply don't know anything about it just yet. So the idea ultimately can end up being that they're going to showcase one new area, a couple of new monsters, some returning ones, and a couple of features here and there in each one of these trailers. Moving on to the new monsters that I want to talk about, the first one is of course Ibushi Makihiko. This is the fire monster that I spoke about in the previous video, where he has some sort of smoke mechanic and a Japanese aesthetic. Another new thing that we didn't know about before that is also being referenced, that he might have something like Tengu-like visuals. Now I had to look up what a Tengu means, and essentially they're like legendary creatures of Japanese folklore. Another type of yokai or even a kami, like a bird type of god or a creature that can fly, but they're also like warriors of some kind. So it could easily be that this is the legendary monster for this specific area, or it could simply be that they have something to do with Magna Malo in general, but they're not necessarily quite legendary. A lot of the new monsters that are being mentioned that have leaked in the previous video, and if you don't know about any of them already, I encourage you to go check that out. But essentially they could be something along the lines of like Magna Malo like sidekicks or underlings. Obviously that's just a theory, but it could be something worth considering. The other monster that is brand new that is going to be showcased in this trailer, and the one that makes me a little bit more excited, is Naruharata Hime. This is another monster that I talked about in the previous video that has something of like a lightning set of attacks, is considered a siren and it attacks via song. One of the mistakes that I made in the last video is that I mentioned that it could be a Mitsusune subspecies, and I misspoke. What I meant to say was that it was a Leviathan type monster. Essentially that it takes the Mitsusune type body type, the skeleton, and all of his attacks, all of his movement, a lot of his visual aesthetic is similar to Mitsusune, but it's a completely new monster. It's not Mitsusune subspecies. I misspoke when I said that, but yeah, basically that's the clarification that I wanted to make. This is a new monster. I just want to make that very clear. This is not like a Mitsusune subspecies, so I wanted to clarify that. But we are supposed to be seeing more of this monster during this trailer, and one of the reasons why it's kind of shown in tandem with Mitsusune is because another part of the leak mentions that Mitsusune will be part of this trailer. So if you remember in the first reveal trailer, we saw a couple of turf war clips of a couple of monsters fighting each other. And if you were to consider that this Naruhara Tahime monster could be fighting Mitsusune in something of a turf war in the flooded forest, that's definitely hype. So it's worth considering that it could be something of a combatant to Mitsusune to being shown essentially in the trailer, where they end up fighting each other a little bit. So they show a new monster, they show Mitsusune, and they end up fighting them together. That'd be pretty cool, but you know, that's just speculation. Another one of those returning monsters that's being shown in this trailer, and it's a no-brainer of course because I talked about it already in the first video, is Rathian. Rathian is another one of those monsters that constantly show up in every single one of the games. It's a no-brainer that it would be in this one, and with it being shown in this game means that we're basically gonna have a lot of the returning dragons that we're used to seeing, so that's definitely hype. I do wonder if the subspecies, again, that's the kind of like the ongoing question that I always ask, will they end up putting the subspecies into the game? I hope that they do. Gold Rathian and Silver Rathalos are great. I definitely love those fights, so hopefully they make it in. The last returning monster that I want to talk about that is mentioned in this leak that's going to be shown in the trailer is a monster that was not part of any of the previous leaks before. And I don't know how this one slipped by because it's basically not mentioned everywhere until now. And that is Royal Ludroth. This is another one of those starter type monsters, something of like that bubble attack that Mitsusune does. You know, you get some like sticky thing on you and then he kind of like messes around and thrashes about. Somewhat of a boring fight, interesting mechanics. It's kind of like Barrett, another one of those whatever fights to me. But yeah, it's interesting that it wasn't shown in any of the previous leaks until now, where it's going to be apparently part of this trailer. So worth looking forward to if you like these type of monsters. But other than that, it's cool to see just another monster being added to the roster, because another thing that a lot of people keep asking me in the comments is, hey, are these all the monsters? That doesn't seem to be like a lot of monsters in total in the game. And I always have to answer them telling them, no, that's not the complete roster list of all the monsters that we're going to see in the game. There's a lot of monsters that we simply have not been able to see because this is just part of the marketing materials. We don't know what the in-game data has, which monsters are actually going to be part of the entire roster for the entire game. Moving on to another couple of things that we might end up seeing in the trailer that is mentioned in this leak are NPC introductions. Essentially, we're going to be able to see more NPCs being shown around town. Perhaps something like the Smithy, the Guildmarm. It is suspected that both of those twins that are shown in the last trailer might end up being the Guildmarms for this game. That's just speculation that I saw being tossed around. There's no guarantee of any of that. So it could be that we end up seeing whatever the Guildmarm is for this game, and it's an entirely different character essentially, but we don't know that. We are going to see a lot more of the village as well, and that kind of goes in tandem with the introduction of new NPCs. We might end up seeing just essentially how the village looks when you walk around, like what's actually there. We don't know how big it is. I don't expect it to be all that massive. Most of the games has kind of been limited, and World is probably the biggest one that we've seen in any of the Monster Hunter games. So it's worth considering that we haven't seen it as you walk around on the village, so it could be just a limited area, a limited scope, but there's going to be a lot of characters, a lot of NPCs packed in there that we're going to be able to see. There's also the part where like village and like the online hubs are separated once again, kind of like in the old games. So we might be able to see like maybe just the village as part of the offline stuff, and maybe there's an entirely new area for you to be able to have like online lobbies and stuff. We don't know, but it's worth considering that, you know, it might just be an entirely new area that it might not even show in this trailer, but they might show in future trailers. The last thing that I want to talk about that is supposed to be part of this trailer and is part of this leak is character creation. Now this is why I made it very specifically clear that plans can change, and this is all marketing data. We don't know. It's not like anyone's actually seen the trailer and we know exactly what's going to be within it. Because the character creation, we've already seen it. If you're watching the video right now, you're seeing it in action right now. And the reason why we saw it is because Capcom put out a couple of clips of like you being able to customize your character, you being able to customize your Palamute, your Palico, and they just kind of put that out randomly one of the days. So if this was actually supposed to be part of this trailer, yet they already put it out on Twitter and we got to see it, then essentially was cut from the trailer. I wouldn't imagine them try to reintroduce something that they already showed once before. So, you know, this is why I keep saying like plans can change. While this was part of the marketing, they simply probably just said, this isn't worthwhile investing too much time on in a trailer. Let's just showcase that separately and let's go about our days. It's kind of like showcasing the weapons in general. Like, we've only seen a couple of the weapons being shown. Even though we know all the weapons are in the game, they're probably going to start showing more of the weapons as the trailers start to, you know, develop and we start to see more of them. They're not necessarily going to spend like 5 minutes talking about a weapon that you kind of already know how it works. So that's all the leaks that I wanted to cover in this specific video. I'm definitely going to be watching the Game Awards. I hope you guys are as well. Like I said before, if they show this trailer and a lot of the information that I'm talking about in this video turns out to be accurate, then we know that the future trailers, we already have most of, if not all the information of what's going to be within them. And then I'll be able to cover those essentially, and we'll be able to have, you know, a heads up on what we're actually going to be able to see. But if it turns out that I'm wrong and all this, you know, leaked data was BS, then again, I wasted my time, I wasted yours, and that's not something that I'm interested in doing. I respect my viewership, I respect my followers, and the last thing that I want to do is waste my time and yours. So with all that said, if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.